Welcome to Son of a Pigeon podcast. This is the first time I'm going to introduce myself. I had a Joe Rogan symptom in the beginning of the podcast, so I will just start to talk. And I thought everybody already know me. But the truth is, there are 50 listeners to the podcast, which is not so bad for the first episode. And today I have a special guest. They're always special. Today I have all the way from cold Finland, I have Iris, who is here with me. My name is Ohad. I am the host of Son of a Pigeon podcast. And this podcast is going to focus on artists and musicians, mostly musicians from Berlin. So everywhere in the world, wherever you are, enjoy the podcast. You can hear it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcast. Soon it's going to be also on YouTube, and we also have Instagram and Facebook. So go there and give us a like, comment. If you like something, if you hate something, I want to hear everything. So yeah, let's begin. How are you, Iris?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Ohad.
Thank you for coming. You came really stylish. I must say that they will see in the photo of the podcast.
Yeah.
You have a really funky, crazy green hat. And also a nice necklace, and you're dressed in black, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, but not completely in black. So,
not completely.
Yeah, I've gone a bit away from the metal.
Yeah, so you're from Finland, and you came all the way to Berlin from cold Finland. What brought you here to Berlin?
I could say music was definitely one big factor. So I came here in 2015, and I came here first as an exchange student, and then I started making music stuff, and I've been playing with bands, rock and metal bands, also some funk bands. I've been doing basically three things: vocals, which is my main thing, some backing vocals, which is not my strongest suit because I have no choir background, but nice to learn something new always, and then playing the bass also. And now for a couple of years, I've been also teaching vocals here in Berlin, live at the Rock House, and then also online via Zoom. And
Nice. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what takes you in to make music, how this music spirit got into you. What inspires you to begin the journey?
I guess for me, it's just something I always did. I started playing the violin when I was 7 years old, and then I've been just playing music ever since. When I was a teenager, I got into rock and metal music, and then I wanted to have an instrument that would allow me to make that kind of music. So I started playing the electric guitar, and I had my first band in Finland when I was 18, 19 years old. And then I got more into vocals, but I always kind of had that songwriting emphasis that I wouldn't so much maybe prefer to be a vocalist in a band where someone just lays out for me the lyrics and the vocal melodies and sing this. But I like to be part of the songwriting process and also write songs. And then I also kind of learned to play the bass to support that, more like the rhythmical side. And I guess for me it's just something I always did and I want to do. And I like about music that the opportunities are basically limitless. So you have always new genres, you have always new instruments you can learn. There is indefinitely stuff to learn. And for me it's been more the problem to concentrate myself more on something and limit myself a bit. For example, I really made the decision that on stage I don't want to be a guitarist vocalist or a bassist vocalist. I only want to be a vocalist.
So full focus on vocals.
And performance.
And performance.
Yes.
It's very important.
Yeah, because I somehow feel for me personally having to also play an instrument at the same time, it takes something away from the performance. Because I just want to, I'm not a super fitness person who runs around the stage like some people do, but still, I like to move. And
How do you perform? What is your strong points when you're performing? What do you like to do on stage?
For me, it's mainly about the presence and movement. I don't know, it's hard to describe. but that I can like I wouldn't exactly call it dancing, but that I can with my whole body go in, like take certain postures or something. And what I heard, like for example from the audience, because I also do a lot of different things with my voice. Sometimes I do something really powerful or growl, and sometimes I might do something really soft or more emotional, more like higher singing, for example. And then I like to also like express that with my postures and stuff. And I got like some feedback that this was also nice, the way I was kind of like playing also with like kind of free from any gender ideas, with more, you could say, stereotypically masculine and stereotypically feminine postures on stage.
You do them both, also the feminine and the masculine?
Yeah,
Nice.
you could say so. Of course, it's always the only stereotypes. What is then masculine? What is then feminine? But what people tend to
we
expect.
like to define stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, I think all of us have masculine and feminine in the same body and the same time. It's just how much we want to express. But for me, when I make music, it's the most feminine activity I can make. It's just creation and to contain everything around me. I would say that I would think that when you tell me about the performance, I can imagine you making metal performances on stage.
Yeah, I mean, definitely rock and metal.
Is this the most experienced genre that you have on stage?
Yeah, definitely.
They also used to have a heavy band back in Israel when I played. We were called Ganza, and we like to get stoned on stage, and then we would just get everyone in the crowd stoned. And there is this energy about having really heavy music and to play it. It's like, especially when the groove is really, really strong, and it feels like someone is punching with a hammer the whole place.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And I had the idea, like now I took a few years of break from band activities. There was also the pandemic in between. And because I just wanted to try out more with songwriting, because I knew I wanted to have some synthesizers in my music. So I wanted to try out a bit with Ableton, and just in general try to write some songs. And then I wrote also some acoustic stuff. And I was also like playing with the idea if I should make something solo, because like from the logistical side, it's of course a lot easier. And I also know some cool female queer musicians who do stuff solo and can then tour in the Europe solo, and it's kind of like also cool that you can just do it like that. But I noticed like pretty soon, like, no, I just miss so much having the whole band on stage and like a real drum set and everything. I mean, of course, as a solo act, maybe you can still do that, have still on stage like a drum set, but yeah, it was just one of those aspects. I just like miss the interaction with other people. I like to do stuff together, and when on tour or like waiting for a gig, I just want to have some people to spend the time with, because like we know it's a lot of waiting, and alone it's not so much fun. So yeah, and now I kind of like separated these activities that I want to like at the moment I'm starting a band. So I'm writing music with a guitar player. We are trying to make now like a 3-song demo first, and then I will look for a drummer and bass player for that project. And then on the other hand, I noticed I started having these like acoustic songs in a certain style. So I have now a couple of them, and I feel more coming. So with these songs, I can then easily go still solo on open stages and kind of like engage in the singer-songwriter acoustic community in Berlin. So kind of take the best of the both worlds.
You have many projects going on.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is the acoustic one. There is your solo, which is not acoustic. It's more like synth popish or synth punkish.
Well, with these synth popish songs, I'm not like planning to go anywhere, so I won't ever play them
Just for
live.
fun.
It was just to try stuff out, and now I'm kind of trying to integrate that in the band.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to have like a rock metal band that has some synth sounds. It has been, of course, done many times before. There is even this genre called like industrial metal.
Yes.
But for me, it's like it's a thing. I want
Rammstein
to.
style.
I know
Yeah.
Rammstein is the first band that comes to mind, but I don't think it's gonna actually be at all like Rammstein style. Probably gonna be really different, but let's see, because now we are making the songs, so let's see what the result is gonna be.
Cool. And you're looking for a drummer, and what else are you looking for?
And a bass player.
A bass player.
Yeah.
What kind of drummer would you like to have in your band? Let's say if you can choose any drummer that is alive or dead, who would be the most perfect drummer?
I really like drumming that is really like dynamic and groovy and more like leaning towards the rock side of things. What I noticed a bit with some metal drummers, they are like extremely technically skilled, but it's also kind of not so dynamic because it's really like tick, 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 almost similar to some kind of really like jazz drummers, like modern jazz drummers, when it's like all about the technique. And somehow for me personally, I feel it's not always so much about the emotion. And yeah, like the drummer, for example, I had in my previous metal band here in Berlin, Church of Birds, like he was a great drummer and I loved his, like, I mean, if you're gonna, it's a Schlagzeug, you know, in German, it's you are hitting the drum.
Tools.
Yeah, so I want someone who is like hitting the drums.
Dev Grohl,
yes.
Let's say. If Dev Grohl will come to you, send you an email, I want to be in your band, would it be perfect?
I would consider.
No, she would consider Dev Grohl. You have to prove yourself. And what about bass player? What kind of bass player are you looking for?
Would be awesome to have someone who can play slap bass. That's something I can maybe once play slap bass, but not really good. Yeah, I love slap bass. Maybe that's also like on the groovier side of things. That really appeals to me, but it wouldn't have to be like all the time. We don't have to go like all, I don't know, Red Hot Chili Peppers or anything, but it's nice to have like the possibility there in case there is like a groovier song. But also if there is a great bass player who's just okay.
A great bass player that is just okay. No, we need more than this.
No, I mean a great bass player who doesn't play the slap, then of course I will consider it's always like a, you know, whole thing, how it works, like musically, personally, with the goals and so on.
Mm-hmm. So what do you want to have from the bass player? Can he play distortion? It needs to be technical, or it needs to be more holding the groove and giving some depth?
Not technical. I mean, of course, there might be some parts in the songs that are more metal, so then you need some speed, but this is not gonna be like mathematics metal. This is not gonna be like technical death metal.
Jazz metal.
Yeah, and rock and metal, I would say it's important. Will be like a mixture, like alternative rock metal. So I don't want to make only like metal music, like straightforward metal music. I've been listening too much of it in the last 15 years. So I always like bands that make like kind of mixture, you know, like Skin Dread mixing reggae and metal, or, you know, something like this. I find it interesting. So I kind of like listen to metal for so long that I definitely need to have that, you know, heavy sound with like real drums and distorted guitar. And I want to have the bass there. But then again, I need there to be some other elements. That's why I want to go for the synths. That's why I like to use my voice in a diverse way. I might also do some violin stuff there. I'm kind of like experimenting with that also.
Very cool with violin.
Yeah,
especially if you have effects and if you have a pedal board for the violin, it can be limitless.
Yeah, that's definitely like more the direction I would be going to. I made now this collaboration project. What I did there, it's like one song of Muse which we covered, and there's like a guitar solo, and I played.
What song is it?
It's Gonna Be Dead Inside, and I played that, like I made a little bit of different version of that solo with the violin, and I only have an acoustic violin and I don't have any effects as such, but I made a recording, and on the recording I put the effects, so it kind of like sounds like an electric guitar a bit, but it's still a violin. And yeah, I think would be interesting also to experiment with something like this.
Yeah, it's very, very much endless. And really earlier, just when you arrived, we talked about AI and its role, let's say, in the future of human race. And also, I'm very curious how it's going to bleed into music. Because there is already, there are some AI plugins that we can use that really benefits us. What I've seen is from the mixing area. So you have AI reverb, and the AI reverb knows exactly what reverb you want, and it makes it completely perfect. And also you have AI that knows how much to do limiting in the end of the track on the master channel. And you have also AI that can give you really good EQs and all those crazy stuff. And then also you have this chat GPT where you can ask it to write you a lyrics and to write you chord progression. Do you know this?
I would find so weird to have an AI writing me the lyrics because that's the part I enjoy the most. But definitely the mixing side, not to say there is nothing about it I enjoy, but I feel I'm a musician, not a sound technician, and now I do my own mixing. Been doing to save some money in the beginning and also to learn to like create the sound. And especially I think as a vocalist, it's important to know what you like. So then when you go to a recording studio, if someone else does it for you, you can still kind of give some guidelines or have an idea, your own idea about your sound. But that, I would definitely be open to giving some of that work either to an AI or then like a sound technician.
I'm pretty sure there is someone who already made it, an AI that makes harmonies. And then you can ask him to do harmonies Beatles style, or do harmonies Britney Spears style, or Backstreet Boys style, or David Bowie style. And imagine this, you just record one take and it takes care of the rest. How do you feel about this?
Well, I feel like for me that kind of feels like a natural progression because I've been thinking a lot about music, and it's nowadays there like so much music has been made, so many different genres has been made. So it's not about like finding a chord progression no one ever used anywhere before. It's not about making a vocal harmony that never existed yet. It's not about writing a sentence that no one else ever wrote before. It's more about like balancing and mixing those things and creating something new and interesting with them. So then these kind of parts, if you just want to take an influence, like, okay, I would like to have here something Beatles like, I don't see a problem in that, then that an AI would then make it.
Yeah, I think it will shorten all those processes that we hate to do, like mixing. No one likes to do mixing, just to make sure everything sounds correctly with the frequencies, and then, all right, now I can be creative. But until you get to the creative part, this mixing can really take your soul sometimes. It can really make you hate your own songs if you do your own mixing. Especially if you don't really know and you're not so experienced in this, then it can take really long. So I think maybe in this way it can really shorten those processes and give us more creative time.
Yeah, and I don't know if someone who is not a musician even like understands how much time all of this takes. I have this one song on YouTube that is more like I wrote for a whole band. It's called Hard Worker. So there I played the bass and guitar and sang, and I made a drum track, and then I wrote, of course, the lyrics and vocal melody and everything on all the instruments, and I mixed it and I filmed a video and I edited the video and put it on YouTube. And of course that was my one of the first times doing that whole thing by myself, but it took like 70 hours, and I don't think people probably realize like it something like that can take 70 hours. They think probably it's like 5 to 10 hours maybe. So definitely we need to be able to like reduce the time.
Yeah, then we can be more creative. I'm curious. Let's see where and when it will bring us to this point. I think we're already there to the point of no return.
Yeah, well, I kind of hope so, because it's also like if you think about it as a percentage, how much of this, for example, this work is like creative work, like actually like writing the lyrics or getting a vocal melody idea, and then just to put that idea out in the world is probably something like 5 to 10% is creative work and like 90% is everything else. So it's kind of crazy in a way. And in a way, I learned to enjoy also the other parts of the process, because it's not a good attitude if you just complain about it and hate it. And definitely there's a perfectionist in me. So for example, there are parts of mixing and editing when I'm like but on the other hand, our time is limited, everyone's time is limited. So yeah, I would definitely like to have more emphasis on the creative work.
Yeah, I think also as a musician it's very important to finish it as soon as possible and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it's never finished. It's never finished. There is always a better take we can do. There is always a better mixing decision, just to lift it up in 0.2 dB. It will be perfect. And this is also a problem that we can face, just to go too much deeply, and then everything is also lost. All the passion for the songs and for the art. But it doesn't, I think AI will not make us, it will not take away from creative people as much as people are scared of. That's what I see around me. I think that AI actually will help us, will be more creative. If you're creative and good by your own, then you can use AI to enhance it. I think it will take away jobs from shitty musicians and shitty music writers or producers. And it will give us, the creative people, more chances to offer it to the world. But let's see how it will be. And also on vocals now it's crazy. There is the AI that fixes your pitch basically. Yeah, and it just, you put it and that's it. AI takes care of it. Now you sing perfectly in pitch.
Yeah, and I think this like pitch correction as a theme is also kind of like super interesting, and I feel there are such like double standards because, well, nowadays maybe especially in some genres it's like kind of like overemphasized, so some people kind of accept it and expect it, but I think many times when basically always it is used and then people don't always realize it's being used and they kind of have this expectation it's not being used, and then they hear like a vocalist somewhere live doing some performance where it's not on, and they hear at some point where there is some really high, really difficult note to sing, it's not in perfect pitch, and they start immediately complaining. So if they hear like pitch correction is being used, they are complaining. If they hear not so perfect pitch when it's not used, it's always. So I think it's difficult. And the same with playing the violin. Violin is really like difficult instrument to play in the way that you always have to be wary of the intonation, because it's a fretless instrument and you put your finger in a weird angle and it's not angle. Did I say ankle? I meant angle, weird angle, and it's not the correct note anymore. And for example, when I was doing this Muse collaboration cover, I put there was this kind of like violin solo, and then I put in the background where they have like synthesizers, I put there like real violin on the background. And because it's repeating a lot, it's maybe like, no idea, 3-4 notes that are repeating over and over and over and over. And if even one of those is not in correct pitch, it will hurt your ears so much because it's repeating like 20 times, 30 times.
Is it a choir of violins? Not a choir, a symphony, how do you call it? Orchestrate.
Maybe you could say something like that. So I put there this, you could say orchestra, like violins, you have there this part in the original, so I made that basically like an alteration of that with violins. And there I didn't use pitch correction just because my mixing skills are not advanced enough to use it in a good way. So I actually like recorded and recorded and recorded as long as it took me to have the violins in a good enough pitch. And this is also, I'm not sure if it's like because I feel some people feel it's like a matter of honor that then it really like you really played it in that really good pitch, but is it really worth the time sacrificing? Because I was like, if I could really do this well and easily with a pitch correction, I would prefer to do it, because I don't pretend to be like a concert scale violinist. Those people have to train violin like 8 hours a day. I don't have 8 hours a day to just practice playing violin. So yeah, that's the decisions. We save time, and then the performance is perfected. Do you also use it on your own vocals? I didn't learn to do it, so I didn't. But again, I don't see like any like moral issue with it. And as I've understood, this is used all over. So
how would you use it? Would you use it in order to make your voice let's say more appealing and more pitch correct, or would you use it really to correct your performances? Let's say if your voice cannot really have direct notes or accurate notes, or maybe you cannot reach a different note, or maybe to correct some of the performances. Like, where is the limit? Where would you use it, and would you say, all right, until here I can use it, but more than this, I will not want to use it?
Well, definitely, I think the way it is used is just because, like, we are humans, like normal human sound. If you go to studio, if you record yourself, if you use, let's say, average like 3 hours for the vocals, there will be some points where it's not like 100% perfect pitch. And that's what people are using it for. I see there being like this assumption that, okay, like people can't even sing like really, and then you just like magically make them sound like super good with all this mixing and all this. And I think this is also like overemphasized, this like pitch correction, because is it like, how is it different that, okay, maybe like you always also like double the vocal track, or you put some reverb, or you do this and that. So like, it's just like one tool and one effect with all the others. So for me, like I personally have never seen a person like who couldn't sing at all, who couldn't sing live. Also as a vocal teacher, I kind of like can hear a lot of things from people's voices. So I don't think it's even possible that someone really can't sing at all and you can make it like sound perfect. And at least I don't think that's what, you know, most people are doing. And it's funny that people have to kind of prove themselves also nowadays. So if there's some like really famous singer, you know, and they, of course, they use pitch correction on their albums because everyone does. And then they sing live. And then you probably also do that live, but not always. And then there is this, like I said, this one note that is not in perfect pitch. And someone shares that on, no idea, TikTok. And then everyone's like, oh my God, she can't even sing. And then this person has to do this like performance on social media that they only with acoustic piano or guitar really sing without a microphone, without any effects, and prove I can actually sing. Yeah. It's kind of like a difficult topic because, like I said, it's such a like double standard there.
Yeah, it's a very difficult topic. There is the new Queen song. I don't know if you heard that. Face It Alone, I think it's called. Have you heard it?
No, I didn't, but I'm a huge fan, so I feel now like I definitely should have heard about it.
It's really Freddie singing there, but guess what they did to Freddie's voice?
AI?
I don't know if AI, but they really corrected his pitch, and it sounds weird.
Okay, so is it like a new or old song?
I think it's an old song they recorded and they released it now. So
okay, so they never released it before?
Yeah, it's a new release.
Yeah.
But of course, it cannot be recorded after it died. Maybe if you use AI, you can, you can sing. And then, wow, this is crazy. You know, people don't really know how deep the rabbit hole of these AI things. I don't know how much you're really into all this metaverse and crypto stuff. You a bit familiar with this world? About metaverse and virtual reality and crypto?
Yeah, a little bit, but not my biggest interest. But
so I think what basically we're gonna go to as a human species, we're gonna own the internet. So now the internet, basically there are a few companies that control the internet and they take all the data and they take all our money. But then time will come that we will own our own data and we will own our own information. And if we have tokens in a game that will be actual money, we can actually trade it afterwards and have real money so we can buy real food. And if we take the virtual reality, so people are going to be immersed in this virtual reality, which is basically limitless. And the only thing that will limit you is your own mind. And I think also technology is going there in the next 5 to 10 years. It will be like we have iPhones and Galaxy. It will be like a simple gadget that everyone got. And then what's really is crazy is how fast AI can generate stuff. So imagine you have an avatar that you wear in the virtual reality world. And this avatar, it can be everything. There is this thing, it's called deep fake. It's like a video generator, AI. And I can just take one photo of you. It doesn't matter, just one angle. And then I can record you if I have a voice sample of you. It's the best. If I have a few photos, it's the best. And then I can record myself and it will look and it will sound exactly like you and I can say whatever I want. So if you take this and you put it really crazy graphics and sound manipulation, so basically you can be Freddie Mercury in a virtual reality and you can sound like Freddie Mercury and you can look like Freddie Mercury or whoever you want to be. And we're gonna go there. I really think so. Just a matter of time.
I would definitely love to look like him. Like he has the most awesome style ever.
Yes. And then it will be a different way of teaching people how to sing. It will be how to write the right code on AI so you can sing better.
Yeah. Yeah, I really have to get back to the song you said they published. I really have to listen to that because I'm so interested. And this is what I've also noticed, because music is always, about these industry standards. And that's the thing, if you listen to some, recordings from the 70s, nothing is in perfect rhythm. People didn't play so much with click. Nothing is in perfect pitch because the systems didn't exist yet. And also to my ear has been now trained, for this kind of, because some things are always used. So I've been trained my ear for the stuff that is now on Spotify that is made with the modern standards. And now, if I listen to some really old recordings of King Diamond, for example, I'm not to criticize him in any way. He's an awesome artist. I've seen him live. And he can really sing, but it's not made with this the standards of today. And of course, because of this, also some musicians feel like, okay, we want to then republish our old songs, made with the modern standards, and it's also kind of sad. But on the other hand, if you now have 10 songs on Spotify made with the modern standards, you put there one in between made with the 70s standards. That one song, sorry to say, is gonna sound kind of crappy because it's just different.
So? If you listen to Led Zeppelin, they're definitely not on time. They're definitely not in pitch. So would it be a turnoff if you listen to Led Zeppelin and the music is not as accurate as the modern productions?
I think it's the matter of it being if we have a playlist, maybe like I said, of 10 songs, and it comes in between. You will definitely notice there is a difference, and it's necessarily not a positive difference. But normally, if I listen to Led Zeppelin, I will just go and just listen to them and not have them coming popping up from some playlist.
You're very sensitive to this, if so. I've heard this, someone took Michael Jackson's vocals. Now you can find the multi-tracks all over the internet. And he just corrected all of his vocals, all the harmonies. What was it? It was Thriller.
Yeah.
And it sounded really bad. Imagine.
So it was too perfect, you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but
you cannot say that Michael Jackson is not on pitch.
Yeah, and the thing is... it's that's also one thing. What does being on pitch mean? Of course, most of the singers, most of the time, yes, they are on pitch. But if you go to a studio, you record a song that is 4 minutes, then it's more about maybe there is this 2-second part or 5-second part that is not in perfect pitch. And yeah, if you do enough retakes, you can do enough. And at some point they figure out, okay, let's put there a keyboard track behind to support that you can get this exact pitch from this keyboard, so you can sing with that, and maybe you take 10 takes, 20 takes, 30 takes. At some point it's going to be on pitch, but again, it's a lot of manual work. And then the thing is with Michael Jackson or anyone, do you want to go through that? Do you use pitch correction, or do you accept sometimes there is going to be something that is not perfect?
I think the imperfect of his performance, this is what gives the character to the whole song. Yeah. What is your approach as a music teacher or a vocal coach about being in pitch for your students? How do you approach this?
My approach is definitely it's only one of many factors. Of course, you need to. For me, pitch is more that okay, you can hit certain notes. It's of course important. If you have a vocal melody, you're able to follow that melody. And mainly the issue with people is everyone sings a bit flat. So a good general advice is try to sing a bit, too high, so then you won't end up being flat. But also what I hear on my lessons, even people who didn't sing before, many of them then played instruments or something. It's not that they can't, hit some notes. So actually the pitch is not such a big thing on my vocal lessons. Of course, if someone really has issues with it and needs help, I'm helping. But someone who is a beginner and has to learn, say, 10 different things from, breathing to expressing themselves to maybe writing their own songs to being in pitch, I think it can't be the only and main focus. And the same with with violin, I think like everyone who had like background with any classical instrument lost their interest in music, because there you only go for the, maybe this is like really bad generalization.
It depends on the teacher.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much about the teacher. Like, I wouldn't say like my violin teacher was bad in any way. I had a great teacher, but I think like the culture of classical music is you are playing some. It's not about making your own music often. It's about playing songs that already existed for a long, long time, and you are kind of try to play those songs perfectly. And then it's more always about the like technique, and with violin about perfect intonation, like intonation, and about the speed, about the tempo. And here you play fast, here you play slow, like this. And I think it's really like a controlling box in a way. And because you have such a like huge emphasis on mistakes, that I guess this is what for many people might like lose the motivation. And I'm also like, I play guitar, I play bass, I play my mouth, I sing, and I play violin. And with violin as years, I have the most experience, but I'm still the most insecure because of this background.
So interesting. You have on one side, you have the classical music, which everything needs to be perfect. Because for me, I cannot imagine if I go to a Philharmonic concert and then they're a bit off pitch, it will sound very strange. But then you have on the other side, you have Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, and they're very far from perfect. And both of them, it depends on the classical music, but let's take Mozart and let's compare it to Kurt Cobain somehow. So both of them are really geniuses. And both of them, I think they understood something. Which is how the energy flows with people and culture at the same time. Yeah, but different way of execution, this thing, of the music, of their emotions. And also I think with classical music, most of the students, they don't really know what they're playing. They just play. So those are the notes, this you play a bit strong, but they don't really know the musical concept unless they go really deep. But at age of 7, when you just start, you cannot really go deeper to these concepts unless someone explains them to you. And for me, I also thought that classical music is not for me and it's just to play and it's very hectic. But once I learned how to listen to classical music, and once I started to analyze the musical component that construct the whole symphony. No, it's not a symphony. What is it called? I see. I'm a peasant with music. No, it's called a symphony, right? When they write the whole piece.
So you mean like all the parts of the orchestra?
Yeah, when there
together?
is a piece like Bach Symphony No. 5, or is it? No, I really don't know. I like to listen to it. I feel like those people who don't know the artist, they just know the names. But yeah, once I learned how to listen to classical music, it became way more fun for all the ways to listen and to learn how to play it a little bit.
There are definitely things to appreciate, and what I really liked about classical music and playing it with violin and violin as an instrument, and I feel it's really similar to metal music, it's like the drama.
Yeah.
It's like so dramatic, like some,
It's very dynamic.
yeah, and I love that about it. And especially, violin to me is like really dramatic instrument. And for me, like when I played the violin, I always played solo violin. So I didn't play like, I only went to violin lessons, like to single lessons. I didn't play much with any orchestra or anything. So to me, like violin is not a background instrument. It's like a lead instrument and really similar to human voice in a way. The same way that a guitar is. And I feel it's so seldomly used in this purpose. That's maybe why I want to experiment a bit more with it. Because it's often only, okay, we have a ballad, now let's make some, synth string backgrounds, which is also really cool. But that's not how I got to learn violin. So for me, violin is like, it's like a crying instrument almost. It's like huge drama. It's like a shouting, crying instrument.
Do you think it's easy for you to express yourself through the violin?
Well, the years of experience definitely brought something positive. So like now if I want to write a violin part somewhere, I don't have to really like try it out a lot or think about it. I just take my violin and I do something, and then I have it ready in 10 minutes. So that's definitely
what sounds good and what you like to play.
Yeah. And I also feel like I only have like my way of doing it. So yeah.
But I want to go back to for you to share about your teaching music and to teach vocals. And I'm curious, what is the biggest flaw that new students having, either if it's technique or something they're doing that you see most of the students are really fucking themselves up somehow?
I teach pop, rock, and metal vocals. And basically the things that get asked are rock and metal vocals. Mm-hmm. And the things that get asked the most is there is a like group of people who did some kind of like extreme vocals, screaming or shouting in a band for many years already, and they never had really like a really good technique for it. So they noticed their voice getting tired. They have some issues. Maybe they don't sound exactly like they want. So these people come to me. Then there is a group of people who start from zero, and I mainly work with adult people. So there are many also adults who never sang before and want to start. And often they still want to learn to sing rock or metal music. Then there is a group of people who sang for many, many years. They had also vocal teachers, but they could only find like musical vocal teachers or jazz or classical vocal teachers. So they kind of like have the vocal range needed, say singing Queen, but they don't have the sound for it. So they want to create some rasp to their sound or make this what you call belting. That's another thing with the terminology. What is belting in the end? But maybe I won't go there so deep now. But who kind of want to have a rougher sound and a lot like I think you mentioned in your previous episode also Hailstorm. I'm really happy you also heard about Hailstorm.
Yes, she's incredible.
Yeah, so that's of course like a big reference that many people want to get this like rasp to their voice. So those are the things I'm probably like teaching the most.
What is the technique to do this rasp? Let's say Hailstorm. What's her name? Lizzie Hale, right?
Yeah, Lizzie Hale.
How she screams so fully and so violently. And I know that if you want to sound so big and so aggressive, you need to be very relaxed. And it's not as intense as it might sound for us.
Yeah, in a way, you always have to be kind of like relaxed and open, but also like in a way, it's also kind of misunderstood because if you only relax, if you don't use any muscles, you are not able to produce this kind of powerful sound. So you need to use certain muscles, to be able to, do that kind of sound. But then other muscles you need to keep relaxed. So it's kind of like a mixture of both. Yeah, and to do that kind of stuff, it's often like a combination of like multiple techniques. So you have something called a false chord distortion. So you can do a lot of things with this false chord distortion. You can do like more blues, you can do black metal, death metal, you can do this kind of like hard rock scream. Yeah, so that's something I teach a lot. And then people using their head voice.
Well, what is the false chord distortion?
So you have your like normal vocal folds, and then you have something called the false chords that are kind of like anatomically on top, and they are more like they don't even look so much like lips like your normal vocal folds, but more like a tissue that is there. And when you scream, basically this part is vibrating there and creating this sound, but always at the same time your normal vocal folds are still active, so they are like doing the pitch, which we talk so much about, the pitch and the melody and creating the sound. And this is kind of like an effect you add like on top. So basically you could take a Lizzie Hale scream, not activate these false chords, and then it would be a scream like that, but without this distortion. It would still be loud, it would be in the same pitch, it would sound deep, but it wouldn't have this like distortion effect.
Would you like to demonstrate for those who are listening and they want to give a bit more raspiness to the voice? What kind of exercises or sounds they can practice on? I know if you want to practice your voice, you need to accept the fact that you will sound very funny and strange, and your neighbors might not like you so much.
Yeah, so many of the exercises I give are just like imitating some kind of sounds, because often that's like easier. It's not because we can't see what's happening inside of this part of our body. We can't really see our larynx or anything.
Like us.
Yeah, unless we put like a camera. So then it's kind of not so useful to say do this or that with your vocal folds. But I go mainly with imitating exercises. So we imitate, ambulances. We imitate cats. We imitate babies.
Cats. How do you imitate cats?
Meow. 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 Yeah.
All right. And from this, how you get to the... How do you go there?
And there you already have, if you think about this sound, you have this kind of like, so you want it to be high, you want it to be loud. This is already what most people call belting, Yeah! I don't know how, probably I'm too close to your microphone. So, yeah! So that is basically what you have with this cat. Meow! Yeah! And when you take it a bit further from there, then you can go from yeah. So yeah.
Sounds like the Tibetan throat singing.
It's also like
it's similar in technique.
Yeah, it's similar in technique. I don't want to say because this Tibetan throat singing is not my culture and not my singing, so I don't want to too much explain or pretend to be there the expert, but what is my understanding, it's similar technique what they're using.
It's very interesting. I'm also experimenting with my voice, so it's not foreign to me, everything that you say, but nevertheless, no matter what, when you study something like the voice where it's very abstract, so you cannot really, I don't know what it feels for you to do that, and I don't really know what muscles you do inside of your mouth, throat, your whole body basically, that helps you produce the sound. This is what is really challenging about the vocals. If it's a violin, or you just put your hand here, and this is the right way to do it, this is more accurate. How can you explain it with a voice? How to produce very loud sounds? How can someone really stop singing from this, throaty place? Because there is a place where you speak and your whole body is vibrating.
Yeah.
And there is a place where you speak. Let's say for now I can do that. No, I don't know if I can do that. But then your whole body is not really vibrating and the voice is very small.
Yeah, I think actually we as humans, we can make these sounds. We make them on some occasions and we just don't understand we make them. So many people are like, oh, yeah, but I can't shout. But then if you are, let's say you are at a festival, you are in the audience, there is a band on stage, then you go, yeah, whoa, woo. So we can shout. But then when you're at the vocal lesson or we put a microphone in front of you, you're like, but I don't know how to do it at all. Like, no, it's impossible. It hurts because we concentrate on trying to sound cool, or singing instead of, doing what we can already do. And every baby can scream. So really loud, really annoying, break our ears. So if a tiny, 1 kilo thing can do this, or 2 kilos, I think 1 kilo is really premature. Sorry, I'm not a baby expert either.
Then 3-4 kilos, I would say.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm okay. I think I was 3.8, but my brother was 2 point something. Yeah, and when we grew up, he was definitely the heavier one. Yeah, but anyway, sidetrack. We can do so many things, and then we just kind of don't know how to do them in another context. So it's also a lot about bringing these exercises. Or many people also, when they imitate some sounds, if they're like, okay, now I'm the Santa Claus. Ho, ho, ho. Do you have distortion there? Then if I ask on a vocal class, okay, show me some distortion. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm suffocating, No.
The voice. Yeah, it's a very good journey to have. I really recommend everybody if you can do some vocal lessons, just go for it. Do something. You teach in Berlin in your place, or you have a studio? How do you do that?
I teach at the Rock House, which is in Lichtenberg. Yeah.
Is it the Funk Studio, Funk House Studios? Is it similar? No.
No, it's just called the Berliner Rock House. It's in Lichtenberg. The station is O5, Magdalenenstraße. And yeah, it's like a big rehearsal room complex, so it has hundreds of rehearsal rooms, and my room is also there, and I teach there.
Cool. Go check it out. Check Iris and go to have a crazy vocal session so you can make crazy noises of cats and babies.
Yeah.
And somehow you'll sound like Freddie Mercury in the end.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's what Freddie Mercury also started to do. Sounds of cats. He really used this kind of this resonance in his body.
Yeah.
And also, once you notice this about singers, they don't sound so magical. Because it's like, now I know your secrets, and now I know how you produce the sound.
Yeah, but I also think it's really important to understand because there is some kind of misconception about the voice. If we talk about playing guitar or playing a bass or playing an instrument, everyone understands the first time you touch this instrument, it's not going to sound great. You have to practice, you have to get things in your muscle memory, and repeat and repeat. And then with voice, it's like such a mystification. It's like, oh, someone just has a good voice. Someone doesn't have a good voice. Someone has a high voice, someone has a this and that voice, or what I see sadly often when people are like looking for singers in their band, they're looking for a male voice or female voice, and what is that even? So it's important to understand like a voice is a construction. You can learn vocal technique if you want to get the rasp, if you want to say you want to sound more deep, you want to sound more bassy. It's not about like being a male. It's not about having a deep voice. You can also I can make myself also sound a lot deeper. We can all play with our voice around a lot, and or if you want to get like my challenge personally, what was more because for me it was always kind of easy to produce a deep sound. It was easy to produce a loud sound. It was easy to growl. It was easy to scream. These things I kind of learned. For me, the challenge was more like to be able to go higher and to be able to be softer and
find the mixed voice.
That's a mixed voice is also
like a unicorn. The mixed voice.
The mixed voice is also like not a real concept. Sorry to break your bubble, but actually,
bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Well, this is maybe a bit in depth, but often when we talk about,
there are many vocal coaches right now that are very angry at you by saying that.
Might be they are allowed to be angry at me, but yeah, maybe. I think often when people teach something they call mixed voice, it's actually the same thing. Then you have head voice, then you are using air pressure, and you are using vocal distortion, and you are creating this kind of sound I demonstrated with a cat or Freddie Mercury, and that we just happen to call mixed voice. I know in her interviews, Lizzie Hale also called this the mixed voice, but there are vocal teachers who don't actually agree with her own definition about this. Yeah, but if someone teaches makes exactly the same exercises that the students would make with me, and they call the result a mixed voice, maybe it's not so harmful. I think the problematic is more that's because with mixed voice we understand somehow we can use our breast and head voice at the same time, which is not possible. So then it can be also like really confusing.
But it is somewhere in between. It's not really chest voice, but it's not really head voice. So that's why I think it's called mixed. It's like hanging between both of them.
From the sound, you would think so, but actually it is a head voice combined with other things.
Also the feeling, no? You feel that it's head voice 100% with the lightness. There is some pressure that you can feel like chest voice, but not completely chest voice.
Well, this is again the misconception, because the pressure, you can still use air pressure on your head voice. Head voice, normally when people say head voice, they think this is meant with head voice. Ah. That is one way to use the head voice. You can also use head voice like this. Ah. Or you can use head voice like meow, meow. This
is head voice.
Yeah, and then people start calling that mixed voice. It's not a mixed voice. It's either or. You can do breast. You can do your
it's
chest.
Two different muscles that are contradiction one another. It's like the bicep and the tricep. So one of them is pulling, the other one needs to be stretched, and vice versa.
and it's also about how the vocal cords are vibrating. So yeah, I guess maybe this conception was born in a time when you only thought about, like you talked about this resonation. So people think somehow, okay, there's a resonance in head, there's a resonance in chest, which do both exist. And if I only use these somehow at the same time, then I get this sound. But this is like not the case.
All right. And what do you think about singers like Chester Bennington from Linkin Park? He got insane distortion, very powerful, very accurate, and very juicy. I think also it's production-wise, but also when he sings live, he's really on it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same techniques all over. It's using the air pressure, it's using the false chords.
But if I do the same technique like Chester, I don't sound like him. If I do this, I don't sound like him. How is it possible? What he does to be so powerful?
Well, maybe also he trained a bit more than you. I don't know how much you train, but I could make an assumption at least Chester Bennington trained really heavily and a lot of time. So it's also about, having the strength in these muscles to be able to do these things. And also what Lizzie Hale says in her interviews always is like, people like, I've been doing this for 20 years. So you can't expect to sound like that in 2 years. Yeah, like that's probably not possible. But it's a long haul. But you can, in 2 years, you can still reach quite many things.
Yes. Yeah. My journey is quite intense. I thought always, like you said before, that either you are born with it or not. It's like you're born with blue eyes or not. You have either, I don't know, curly hair or straight hair. Either you have good voice or you don't have a good voice. And I was terrified of my voice. I recorded myself a few times when I was like 14. It sounded horrible. So I stopped it and I never wanted to do it ever again until I realized, all right, no one is going to give the song what I want the song to have as vocal performance. So I better do it myself. So this journey took me, it's like been 4 years, I think, right now. I'm getting close to where I'm satisfied for myself. But it's possible I can sing and I can really like what I sing. So this is very, very good that all of you can know, whoever listens to this and needs to hear this, you can do whatever you want. There is nothing that holds anybody. It's just the grind, just to do it and get better and better and better. And it's like, sometimes it feels like I need to be a professional athlete with my voice. So there is a good training program that I need to make for myself, and also to do stretching and to do all the relaxation afterwards and to let it rest and to have good food to take care of the voice. And then it can be even faster if you take care of your voice. Yeah, but it's a crazy journey.
Yeah, but the comparison with the sports, to me, is like a really accurate one. That you need to have enough repetition, you need to build your muscles, and of course you need to build the muscle memory. And but in time, it's also really rewarding because many things get automated. And I think it's the same like with playing drums. You don't have to think like, okay, now my left leg is doing this, now my right hand is doing this. With vocal technique, it's in the beginning the same. And that's also why I say if someone comes to me and doesn't have so much experience in this, okay, I want to scream, so I want to be able to have vocal distortion. I also want to do it in a really high pitch, and I want to be able to do it really fast. I'm like, okay, we have to tackle these things one thing at a time, because then you include already like so many different techniques and stuff that you need to first learn one thing properly, then that gets automated, then you can work on the next, then that gets automated, then you work on the next, and so on and so on. And then from these blocks you can build your like preferred voice.
Yeah, and also it's a matter of, I think the muscles, when they're stronger, they provide more space in the body for the sound to resonate. When I started to dive into opera, I realized that you can create so much volume in very little effort just by relaxing. This is so crazy.
That's the one type of vocal I have zero experience in. Of course, I did some experiments myself, trying to, imitate Tarja Turunen from Nightwish or something. But yeah, I would definitely want to take, just for fun, also some, classical vocal lessons for myself, just to see. Like, I know some of the differences that there are. Like, I try to inform myself a bit, because so many of my students also have some, like, classical background, because many teachers had a more classical background. But yeah, it's also really, and I love also like opera singing. It's not something I would personally like to do, at least a lot, like on my music, but it's loud and it's dramatic.
loud.
And for me, like music is always about the drama.
Yeah, it's all about music. You
Yeah.
have some tension and then release. Tension and release. That's all it is.
Yes, exactly.
So crazy. Just tension and release, and it creates so much emotions in one song if it's been prepared really, really well.
Yeah.
It's like a drug. What a song can do to your feelings and emotions. It's beyond anything we can even imagine. And also music, it's something that we did not create, right, as humans. Like the hat, we created the hat, we created the couch here, the microphones. But music, we had to discover it. Frequencies are there. And somehow we had to discover the ratio between two frequencies and what this ratio sounds like. And that's how we developed this method of, let's say, Western 12 notes, a kind of octave division. But then you have also other different musics, like I would say Oriental music, some Arab music, Indian music, which they use quarter notes. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, a little bit.
What do you think about this music?
Well, it's always refreshing to me to like listen to something else than just say Western music. And I like to always go to like different kind of concerts and to experience something that is not so familiar to my ear. There is also really great like black metal band in Berlin called Nashme, and these people have like several projects, and there are people from Iran and so on. So they also make really kind of like different kind of sounding black metal. So definitely I find it interesting.
Black metal in quarter notes. How does it make you feel when you hear those quarter notes?
I don't know if I can describe it, put a certain feeling to it.
Yeah, it's very unique, and yeah, you cannot really say it in words unless you hear it, and then everyone get their own experience. But those quarter notes, they're so beautiful. And I grew in Jerusalem, so there is Arab music, Arabic music all around me when I grew up. And those quarter notes, they're so unique. It's very unique sensations to have them. And it's also very different where you're from. If you're in Egypt, the quarter notes will sound different if you're in Turkey. And if you're in Turkey and you're used to those quarter notes as a musician and you play in Egypt, the people think that you're not playing the music well.
Okay.
Because they're very different. I think one of them, I'm not sure, it's a little bit flat. The other one is a little bit sharp. So you have even accents about the quarter notes.
That's so interesting, yeah. And I think also with the instruments like violin, because then the like Western classical standard is really different than what you can actually like do with the violin.
Yeah.
If you actually just start like it's like taking it more as a benefit that it's a fretless instrument. Like I don't personally do something like this, but in other cultures, in other music styles, you can just kind of like use that to your advantage and really like just like glide on the fretboard and or the fretless board, whatever it's called in English. And yeah, it's like a really different thing and vibe, and I find it really cool.
Oh, do you feel you want to take a break?
Sure.
Yeah? All right, we take a break. And we are back to the podcast.
Back to business.
Back to business. Talking about business. Would you like to go into the music business? What advice would you give to people who struggle with music business?
I don't think I'm the person to give advice to others at this level yet. No, I'm not there yet.
No advice for you people. The only advice is be good at business.
That's maybe good advice, I studied business and it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, if you study business, you will know business.
But you don't have to, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking back when you said about the moment with your like recording your voice with the phone, because I think this is like a moment everyone had, at some point. And I remember my own moment when I recorded my voice for the first time, also with a phone, and I was so devastated. Also, I cried for one day, and I was sure I'm gonna stop singing because I was like, this is absolutely horrible. And then I got over it. But I think it's always like maybe nowadays people more easily like they do some video clips, voice messages. We get used to maybe like hearing our voice a bit more than before, but it's always because inside our head our voice sounds like so bassy, so deep, so amazing, and then when you take it out for the first time it sounds like a Donald Duck basically. And it's so shocking. But yeah, that's also my vocal students also often ask like, should I record my own voice? Like, will it be helpful? And I tell them, yeah, I mean, at some point it's good, especially if you want to end up, then making music, making recordings. But you need to be able to like differentiate between a smartphone recording, voice memo app, whatever, and like a professional recording you hear on the radio. Because, there is the difference when you have the microphone, when you have the effects, when you have the EQs, when you have the pitch correction, when you have the 2 vocal tracks layered and the backing vocals, which you always even don't hear, if you don't really listen to them. And so I will always tell people, like, please understand the recording you make your phone, even if you do exactly the same like vocal technique than Lizzie Hale, for example, you are not going to sound like the recordings of Lizzie Hale. So like, please keep that in mind.
Yeah, you have different body, different anatomy.
Well, that too. But I just meant like this whole like production process.
Yeah, this is yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but that's also like a really good point. And what I also wanted to mention earlier when you said, why don't you sound like Chester Bennington, even if you do like really the exact same vocal technique? That's of course our anatomy also like plays a role. And I have my anatomy, Freddie Mercury had his, and you have yours. And of course, even if we put then exactly the same production process and exactly the same vocal technique, it's still not going to sound the same. But I think that's also like the beauty of it.
Yeah, this is what makes everyone unique. They have their own bodies, their own way of performing, and their own way of relating to the song. And this is what makes unique people.
But what I think people hugely underestimate is how much we actually have power to decide what our voice will sound like in the end.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what do you think can help the people realize how much power they have?
Well, maybe just the like base fact of understanding like voice is an instrument. Like any other, voice can be practiced. Once you understand that, then you can start like discovering your voice, and practicing.
Yeah, I think if someone really goes to the journey of discovering their own voice, they need to be very open for what they might sound like.
Yeah.
This is, I think, one of the most important and most crucial things that a new singer or someone who wants to be professional at singing needs to understand. You have your own voice. You have your own style, and everything that you're going to put out will be unique to you. And the more you put yourself out, the more unique it will be. And this is really, really important to understand. There is also a concept that I heard from a YouTube vocal coach. I forgot her name, but she's really good. And she got all this concept. She likes to talk, like have a podcast with herself about this. And she said, when you listen to yourself, when you practice also, let's start with practicing. So when you practice, you need to make a separation between the one who is performing and the one who is listening, because you cannot do both of them at the same time. You cannot perform and also listen to your performance. And if you listen to your performance and try to get the right pitches, so you cannot perform so well. So this is why it's really important to make separation, and I think it's the best to record every session of vocal that you do, if there is, of course, the possibility. But also with iPhones, Led Zeppelin would dream to record vocals with iPhone today, back in the 70s.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's really good quality, and I think it's just about practicing, recording, and adjusting. And that's the whole process.
Yeah, I found it really interesting what that coach said, and I think it's also like really true. And also one thing why I don't want to like somehow solely concentrate on the pitch, because at some point, you know, these techniques anyway, they are like just tools. And I don't teach anyone like vocal techniques for them to become perfect in this vocal technique. I teach these techniques so people can express themselves, because it's really like a frustrating feeling, what I had also myself as a musician in the beginning. Okay, I hear, you know, in my head how this is supposed to sound like. This is the kind of vocal melody I want to write, but I'm not able to sing that note, or I'm not able to have the roughness in my voice I want, or whatever it is. And it's just then tools to be able to kind of like realize your vision. But if you then get too like strong on, okay, is my now, you know, pitch perfect, is my technique perfect, is my breathing perfect, if you only concentrate on that, I think it's really well said, then you can concentrate maybe at the same time like optimally, like bringing out your emotion and everything. Of course, like I said, many things get automated about the vocal technique and something, so like when I'm singing, I'm not thinking, oh, am I breathing now correctly? I don't have to do it anymore. But yeah, and I say also for practice, you know, do like 50-50. 50-50 when you are really like concentrated, when you really make some like vocal exercises, you work on your technique. And then the other really important 50%, sing for fun, express yourself, just like take YouTube, sing any karaoke videos, anything that comes to your mind. Yeah, this I want to sing, this I want to sing, this I want to sing, like play with your voice, experiment with your voice, because otherwise it's gonna be like really boring and sad.
Yes,
and like classical violin training, sorry to say.
Like a machine, just practice.
Yeah, it's not fun. And I, for example, also always had a rule for myself that I never go to sing if I don't feel like it. I never put like in my calendar, okay, these 3 days in a week I have to go. If I feel tired, if I feel crappy.
Not even a warm-up?
No.
Nothing?
But I have to say, I always enjoyed so much making music, and I enjoyed singing so much. I do it most days anyways. But for me, it's really important. I don't force myself. So if there is one day I'm like, no, today not, then I don't do it. Then it stays fun, because I only do it when I want.
Yeah, I have a different approach. I think if you have the goal to be a good singer and you don't feel like singing today, then you should sing. This is my opinion. This is my approach. But it really depends where you are in life. Me, I'm playing guitar for almost 20 years. This is a lot of time. It's more than half of the time I'm living. So I don't really need to practice guitar every day to be good, because I just need to maintain it somehow. So maybe this is where you're coming from. Yeah, but I think in the beginning, But then also, how much is too much? Let's say if I sing 4 hours a day because I want to be the next Bruno Mars, is it good to sing 4 hours a day? Can I sing 6 hours a day? Is there a limit how much I can sing?
I wouldn't definitely recommend it. I think here you have to like think again, like singing is more like sports, and it's not a marathon. And if you think about what professional singers do, have you ever seen someone sing a 4-hour concert? Now, of course, you say yes. I seen some experimental band that did this, but normally your goal is to be able to sing like a solid set of 45 minutes to 1.5 hours maximum. This is also what the professionals do. And the voice, especially if you are really doing this, that you are going extremely high, extremely loud, with extreme distortions, it's not so realistic to like aim somehow 4 hours of day of that. And the more important thing is like repetition. So if you have that 4 hours, it's so much better you do 1 hour Monday, 1 hour Tuesday, 1 hour Thursday, 1 hour Friday, than do all the 4 hours on Monday. Like, because repetition is so important.
And what is the, let's say, a healthy routine, a healthy vocal routine, let's say daily routine? What would be the ultimate routine for someone to maintain a healthy voice, a strong voice, a flexible voice, and not to burn out?
1, warm up your body. 2, warm up your voice. And 3, do vocal exercises. And 4, sing for fun.
And you do all of them in one batch, or you spread them throughout the day?
You can do in one, and you don't have to do this daily, but I would say minimum is 2 times a week. 3 to 4 times a week is great if you want to do more. Nothing against that either, but yeah, this is sufficient.
And only for 2 times a week I can get good results on my voice if I do this?
2 times a week you can make progress, like if you compare it with sports. Like if you do only 1 time a week, that's really just like maintaining. You don't learn so much, it's not enough. I would say 2 times a week is like the minimum. And especially with beginners who only start, it's maybe not so realistic to say someone adult, okay, now every day you do this. People have also jobs, they have other hobbies. So I think the important is just people learn to do it regularly. And that's why I say, okay, 2 times a week, start from here. Then good, of course, if you at some point go to 3 to 4 times a week, but this is the starting point. I also have so many people who like have band rehearsals once a week. And they never do anything outside these rehearsals. So first the goal is kind of like to get from there to be allowed to people to understand, okay, you actually have to practice your voice outside of the band rehearsals. Then the kind of like band rehearsal is more like the showing time. Okay, now I can show what I have learned. Now I can apply this in practice, what I have learned. But especially in such a case, I think it might be counterproductive if you say, okay, now either you practice 7 days a week or you don't do anything. And also, I think for the voice, it's good to have some rest days in between, especially when you're learning some, extreme metal techniques. You just in the beginning, you won't be doing everything correctly 100% of the time, all the time. And how you recover your voice when you do some bad like... okay, now it's something weird with my voice, you need to let it rest. So, of course, the goal is always to go towards, not having pain or strain or anything, but it's just like happens when we are practicing, we are not perfect.
Yeah, always be relaxed and not having pain. This is the basic thing that needs to guide us as voice instruments.
Definitely, but I think it's like if you now like try to produce some growl, for example, you take it 10 times, you try to do it. Then probably in the beginning, maybe say 6, 7 times out of 10 is not so optimal. Then there are the 2, 3 times when you're like, okay, now it went well, now it felt good, But there are still the 6 to 7 times when it didn't feel so good and wasn't so perfect. So then it's good to have it rest. And of course, with time, then at some point you're like 5 times it works out well, 5 times not so well. And then in the end, of course, the goal is 10 out of 10. But you also need to have understanding that from the beginning, it won't be perfect. And also you don't have to be like super afraid, like, okay, now if I do something wrong, like a couple of times, my voice will be broken forever. It also doesn't happen like that easily. But especially with these growling, screaming exercises, maybe like shorter times, more often some rest in between will be a good result.
And what is the ultimate way to rest after a heavy session of growling or very loud singing?
Don't use your voice.
Yeah?
Yeah. And drink a lot and like just don't use your voice so much. Yeah.
Cool. I would also like to talk about the songs that you're going to perform, which will be in the end of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What are those songs? Would you like to introduce them a little bit?
Yes, so I have 2 songs. The first one is called Hold My Hand. And this is, I always introduce this by saying this is not a love song, because it might sound from the title like a love song. It's more like, could be like a feminist anthem. Someone who is not into being feminist might be against feminist anthem. Yeah, this is the first song. And then the second song is called I Wanna Tell You I Lost You. And I lost someone really important just last year, a few months back. And this is about that.
All right. So we will finish this podcast. How can people find you?
You can find maybe we can put in the information of the podcast my website. So that's definitely my vocal teacher website is the main point of contact, because there you also have links to my like YouTube and Instagram. But you can also find me on YouTube. My station is Manic Station. And then...
How do you spell it? Manic Station?
MANIC and station. Manic, like manic depression, for example. It's in manic. Yeah. And then on Instagram and Facebook, I'm Orvoc Ein.
Can you repeat this?
Orvoc Ein.
So this is in a Finnish accent. The only thing I know to say in Finnish is perkele.
Yeah, pretty good.
I know more than this. I know hyvää huomenta.
Oh,
ilta.
Excellent.
Maybe the accent is a bit off.
Excellent.
And I knew how to count.
Okay.
It's surprising.
If you can count, can you say what is 666 in Finnish?
Visi?
No, one more?
No, I don't know one more.
Kusi. Yeah, but important. Kuusi, because if you say kusi, it means P. So kuusi. Yeah. Kuusi. What a funny language. Also, the Finnish language is not related to anything from the Nordic culture. Absolutely nothing. It's just by its own. Yeah.
It's more like Hungarian.
Yeah, exactly. It's like from the same language tree with Hungarian and also with the Turkish language. And yeah, I had, when I moved to Berlin, I had a really funny, not so funny encounter with some German people who had really nationalist ideas, and they were really convinced. First of all, that Finland is Viking, great Scandinavian country, and the Finnish language is the original language also for the German language. That's where German language originates from the great Vikings, of course. And when I tried to explain, no, actually it's related to the Turkish language, the reply was no, but they speak Arabic. And I was like, Turkish people speak Turkish language. But yeah, so I'm happy to see people sometimes really actually know where the Finnish language comes from and what is the relation to other languages.
My pleasure. All right. So thank you, people, for listening to the podcast. Thank you, Iris, for coming here. We talked about the Finnish. So how do we spell your name on Facebook? Orvoc. ORVOC.
And Ein as in German. 1, 2, 3.
Eins.
Ja.
1, 2, 3.
Ja.
Deutschland. I would
Genau.
not continue it. Yeah, genau. All right.
Thanks
so we're
for
gonna
having
finish
me.
it. My pleasure. Thank you for coming. We're going to stay for the song. So don't go anywhere, people. Have a beautiful day.
Sound of Pigeon Podcast. Sound of Pigeon Podcast.
Sound of Pigeon Podcast.
Is there a place where these creatures don't exist? I can breathe but I can feel it. Is there a place for a queen I'd see it? I prepare for one more fight. Prepare to go down one more time. Hold my head up high. Will a part of me die again? I'm so afraid. try to